Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone is well this evening. So tonight, in fact, I should say my name first. My name is Avril and I'm obviously from the BD in Scotland. And tonight we have BSL Blethers. And as you can see across the bottom of the screen, tonight's discussion is around the history of deaf sports, specifically the Deaflympics. So I'm really interested to see what we're able to discuss this evening. It should be an exciting evening ahead. I wanted to introduce someone who's been involved in sport, and perhaps we'll allow our guests to introduce themselves.
Hi, my name's Sandra. This is my sign name, Sandra.
Thank you, Sandra. Thanks so much for joining us this evening.
A pleasure.
I know that you've had such an interesting time involved in deaf sport, and I'm sure you have a lot of information, but what we wanted to start with is perhaps where you're from, a little bit about yourself, please.
Sure. I come from Coventry, but I moved to, well, my parents came over from Jamaica in the Windrush generation, and I ended up in Coventry.
Jamaica. Okay, so you came over and you grew up in London, well, in Coventry, but how did you get involved in sport?
Well, at Oak Lodge School, really. Oak Lodge, I don't know if you know that Oak Lodge School. Yeah. I went there when I was 12, and that's really when I started getting interested in athletics and other sports, but I was mostly into athletics. I used to go to training every Friday, and then I was picked for the school team, and that's how I kind of went on from there.
So you mean your school picked you for specifically athletics? And that was to go Crystal Palace, was it? A competition?
Yeah, it was a competition to against all the other teams from deaf schools, Beverley, Mary Hare, all the other schools came together to Crystal Palace, and we competed for athletics. And also when I was about 15, I joined a hearing athletics club because of the standard was a little bit higher there.
Oh, lovely. So you've always been involved in school sports then. And was it specifically athletics? Was it 100 meters, 200? What was your sport?
100, 200, 400 and 800 meters.
Wow.
But my favorite was the 800. Yeah, loved it. Loved it. And, just flat things like long jump, high jump, shot put, but I wasn't so great at shot put, but I tried, all kinds of things.
Okay, so you liked athletics, but you liked the other sports there, shot put, long jump, and so on. But they were all on the flat. Javelin, you mentioned javelin as well?
I did a bit of javelin every now and again, but it was a lot of shot put at school, actually. We did a lot of shot put competitions. So I would tend to go along to those.
So you're really a sports person then, absolutely.
A kind of all-rounder, really. All-rounder. I played football as well from 12 to about, well, until I retired, in and out, but I really loved football. When I was pregnant with my first child, obviously I took a break. When my baby was born, a week later, I was back on the pitch at Liverpool. We won the match. And also I got best player of the tournament. I had my baby hooked on my hip and still winning best player of the tournament.
How fantastic. Yeah, an all-rounder, as you say. Fantastic. So, okay. Can I ask, are you still involved in sports in the same way, in athletics?
Not so many. I still do race walking, that kind of fast walking thing. I still do a little bit of that, speed walking.
Yeah.
10 kilometers, 20 kilometers, just to keep fit, I like walking.
Fabulous.
It's a nice sport. And I think if you've done sports, you don't want to end up doing nothing. You need something to keep you going.
Of course, you need to continue that. So in terms of race walking, that must be difficult though.
I sign it like this, race walking, because of that strange gait. Yeah.
Yeah, but isn't it hard on the hips? Isn't it hard on your gait, as you say, and your skeleton?
Well, it is, but it's just kind of walking fast, you know. I mean, you do have to be careful about your feet, you know, because you have to have one foot on the ground at any time, otherwise you get penalty. So one leg has to always be straight. One leg has to be
Yeah.
straight with the foot on the ground, and the other has to be raised. And as soon as you put the other one down, the other one goes up. So that's where you get that waddle from, you know. And
So
so
interesting.
the officials are always watching your feet. Your knees have to be straight, you know, and you'll get a red card if you have both feet on the ground. So you're permanently thinking of that as you're moving.
You must have to. Of course, you just can't run on. You have to be careful.
Yeah, and in all honesty, that the kind of this speed walking is really hard. It's harder than running, I think, because you know you've got to keep to that pace. I mean, I did my first 20K in Sheffield, and that was so hard, honestly. I mean, you 20 kilometers, so it's 12 and a
Wow.
half miles. So, you know, it's quite a way. But I did enjoy it. I did.
Amazing. Amazing. Well done, you. Okay, so you focused on those sports, and this evening we're actually going to talk about the Deaf Olympics. And of course, they're coming along in November of this year
That's right.
in Japan. And yeah, we're going to have a chat about that. Really, it's nice to look back to think about deaf sports and how they established, and we looked at them through the years. And when you think about you yourself getting involved in Deaf Olympics, what happened there?
Well, I wasn't involved as a sports person. I was involved as
Okay.
an official. So I was the second, you know, the coach assistant. I was a child protection officer. I took lots of photographs, you know, all of those kinds of things. So I've been involved a lot.
Yeah, so you were in the background, let's say.
Yeah. So, you know, when we have athletics meetings, you know, with the teams there, there are trainers and, you know, that kind of thing. And also, you know, I've done a bit of translation because you know, these are
Mm.
international meets, so it's an international sign. So a little bit of kind of translating and facilitating for the team as well.
And you were involved in athletics in Europe as well, is that correct?
Yeah, I got into the Europeans in 2003, first indoor Europeans,
In
which was in
Sofia?
Sofia
Yeah.
in Bulgaria.
In
Yeah, yeah.
Bulgaria? Yeah.
Um, and that was 2003, if I'm right, 2003.
Yeah.
I was in the long jump, shot put, and the triple jump. You know, where you do the high jump, long jump.
Of
Yeah,
course, the
that one, triple
triple.
jump. We call it the triple.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I got a personal best for all three of those,
Well
PBs in
done.
all of those. I didn't get a medal, but PB in all three of those jumps. So I was pretty happy about that. And I went in 2006. I was in the European cross country. So in the women's team, we're the first women. It had always been a male sport. And then there had been some kind of female teams in other countries, but that was our first female GB team. And that was in Portugal.
Portugal. Yeah.
And we won the 4K team race. Again, I was just an official. But actually one of the
Oh,
team had to drop out, so I had to sub in. And then we won the bronze, which was amazing.
how
We were
lovely.
so pleased. Yeah, it was great.
Can I ask you then, as you grew up and you were involved in sports, were there any specific role models that were deaf that you looked up to?
Oh yeah, one person called Michael Webster.
Wow, yeah, Michael, of course.
Amazing gentleman. Because when I joined the athletics, it was the FLDC, so the Federation of London Deaf Clubs, FLDC. And Michael was the secretary, and he would organise all the events, all the athletic competitions. He would hand out all the information, get people to sign up, you know, recruit people. And it was great. They were great. You know, so he gave me a pamphlet with all the information on, said, you know, get involved. He encouraged me to get involved in the Hearing Athletics Club, gave me the form to take home to my mum for my mum to sign. and that was in Bexley.
Bexley, yeah, of course, in London.
That was
Wow.
my first one, and yeah, from then on it was all competitions all the way. So it was Michael really who started that. You know, he was the one who kind of encouraged me, motivated me. And then 1985 in LA, Deaf
Yeah.
Olympics, well, World Games for the Deaf it was then. You know, I didn't get picked, but it was such an amazing experience. You know, real great influence on me, that man. You know, asked me loads of questions, really motivated me to get out and go out and get involved.
Well, you know, we actually have a photo of Michael, so why don't we show that? Because some people might not know Michael themselves that are watching this evening. There we go.
Oh, thank you, Michael.
Lovely.
He was lovely. Yeah, just love him.
So Michael Webster, yeah, it's so lovely that he had a obviously a profound effect on you. So that was lovely. Okay. So Michael Webster, you've mentioned as your role model, and he encouraged you to get involved, and that's so lovely. If we can move on a little and talk about the Deaf Olympics, Sandra.
Sure.
And I know that you've sent me various photos through the years of the Deaf Olympics, and I think it would be lovely if our viewers were able to see those and we could have a chat about who's involved and the sports involved. So we'll show a photo, we'll take that off and we'll let you talk to that photograph. And I think the audience will truly love to know who was involved and your experience of that. So let's see the first photo of the those involved in the GB team for Deaf Olympics. Here we go. Lovely. Can you explain those two photos that were shown, Sandra?
So the two women, that's Lenora Dawson and her pal, Marjorie Durlacher. And they were in the mixed women's tennis, and I think that's 1928, something like that.
Wow.
And they won a lot of medals. They were a fantastic pair.
Yeah, so tennis, ladies tennis, lovely. And what about the minister?
This is Reverend Vernon Jones, and he was the secretary and the founder of, secretary, the coordinator, I suppose, but secretary it was called in that day. He founded the Deaf Olympics in 1924. It was the International Silent Games in Paris in 1924, and he was the one who took the GB team to Paris.
So that minister was secretary for the games. He took the GB team over to Paris.
Yeah,
Wow.
he
I
organised the
suppose
team
missioners
back
were
in 1924,
equivalent
and yeah,
then.
I mean, it was missioners back in the
Wow.
day, wasn't it then? So yeah.
Yeah. How lovely. Okay, let's see another photo. Large group photo there, Sandra. What was that of?
That's a lovely photo, isn't it? That was the first real Deaf Olympics, International Deaf Games, it was called. And that was a photo of 5 or 6 different nations come together there. So Team GB are in there somewhere.
And that took place in Paris. So, and before that, wasn't it called the Silent Games, the International Silent Games? Is that correct?
That's right.
Wow. How
Yeah, as if
interesting.
deaf people are really silent, don't make a noise.
Yeah, so interesting. Okay. So that was a lovely group photo there. So when we think back to that time, it was marvelous, really. When you think there's no technology,
No.
in terms of connection, communication, the fact that they were able to arrive in Paris in that way,
Yeah.
wow.
Telegram, letter.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, at that time,
Of
that's
course.
what they were relying on, really.
Wow, amazing. Listen, let's have a look at the next photo. So that first photo on your left, it's quite a large group. What is that from?
Yeah, this is London International Games for the Deaf, and that's at Wembley City.
Wembley. Wow.
Yeah. And their teams, those are the athletic teams. With GB with other countries alongside in London, and I think that was 1935.
1935, yeah. And that was in London, as you say, that was the Deaf Olympics. Great British team are
Yeah, just
there. And
once.
it was only once, yeah?
Yeah, just once. I think they thought about Sheffield, and then they couldn't get the funding for that. So, yeah.
So that was 1935, and we've had nothing again in the UK?
Yeah, that's the only time it's been in the UK, just that once. Yeah.
So interesting. So again, there was a second photo there on the right.
And that's a British pole vaulter. That's Harvey Vassell. And he got a medal and broke the world record for pole vaulting. He did 3 meters, which is a pretty
So
enormous
that
jump.
was,
That's in
yeah,
London as well. Same games.
yeah.
And remember, there are no mattresses at that time. They just landed in sand. So that's quite a
Wow,
landing,
how
isn't it? You know,
awful.
if you come down wrong, that's a real crunch. There was no mattresses back then. So
Yeah,
yeah, it was just
without a
up and
mattress,
over.
that's dangerous. Wow, you think about health and safety that was nowhere back then, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Imagine
Yeah,
if they
none of it.
broke a bone. Wow.
Yeah, and all of those jumps, none of the jumps
Imagine.
had mattresses.
Yeah.
It was just sand that you landed in. Yeah. Yeah.
Change days, I suppose, really, when you think about even the football, how, the actual ball has changed,
Yeah.
and its toughness as well. Wow. Okay, so we've spoken about Paris, London. Let's look at the next photo. Now, that is a poster.
Yeah, that's a poster for the 4th International Games for the Deaf. That's the one in London, Wembley City. And there are about 6 countries listed on the poster. So 16, 17, 17.
17,
And 6
yeah, a
different
lot.
sports. So there's athletics, swimming, tennis, cycling, a much shorter list of sports than
Yeah.
we would see today. But yeah.
I think 5 or 6 different sports. It's probably limited back then, but as time has gone on, of course, they've introduced, I mean, back then there was football as well, there was tennis, there was cycling, but, other sports have joined, that
Yeah,
those
funny you
disciplines have
mention
joined over time.
cycling. There were other teams involved, but for Britain, there was a long gap. We didn't
Yeah.
come back into cycling till 2013, so it's a long gap.
Yeah, absolutely. I think referring to that poster, there's about 5 or 6 different sports there that stood the test of time for a long time, but we introduced different sports through that, through the years. But where did this come from, this poster?
Well, just looking through the history, these were originally put in magazines. And they would also have the results in there, kind of like a poster, and it will be included in the magazines. Really rich and beautiful resource, really
Yes,
different way of doing. They're
yes,
all hand typed, no computer printers in those days. They
of
were typed
course.
out. Just beautiful. They're amazing. Absolutely amazing. Also, it makes me laugh. Publicity through the magazines and word of mouth, people going to deaf clubs and, and sending out letters, back in the day. And the community would circulate these posters and these letters at deaf clubs. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Of course, back then it was circulated through the community, but now we have social media, of course, it's times have changed. But,
absolutely.
just, yeah, when you think of all that communication, how they corresponded from deaf clubs and so on. So, listen, thank you so much for this really rich history that you're bringing to us tonight. It's lovely.
It gives you goosebumps, doesn't it?
Yes,
It's so beautiful.
it
And just to
does.
touch these things, the smell of them, and just to imagine how they were back then, beautiful
Yes,
objects, beautiful
it's
artifacts.
so lovely. Let's look at another photo. So, can you tell us a little bit about these 4 snaps here?
Yeah. 4 photos of cycling. The first one there is a guy called Nobby Clark. His real name was Thomas. And he got lots of cycling medals. About 1935, really famous. And then we jump. So to Malcolm Lee Johnson, and he got lots of medals. He retired in 1973. And after he retires, there's no cycling from Team GB at all. There is from other countries, so the event continues, but there's no competition from GB until we get Thomas Smith in 2013, who gets silver and bronze. So we're over 40 years of gap in that sport. From 1973, there's no GB cycling at all until 2013, and then we get medals. Amazing.
That's such a large gap, 40 years, and then we come back into cycling.
Isn't that so nice?
And to achieve medals is lovely.
Yeah, and 2017 was in. Oh no, that was in. I was going to say something else, but it was in Sofia. That was in Sofia in Bulgaria.
Lovely. So cycling is still a really important sport for Deaf Olympics, for the GB team.
Well, actually, it's quite difficult. There's not very many people involved in cycling. We're trying to encourage deaf people to keep up that cycling tradition.
It's difficult though, because it is a very lonely sport, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we're thinking about the weather. Is the British weather conducive to cycling, I suppose? Yeah.
And I think you probably have to be involved in a hearing club to make any progress. And of course, then communication isn't easy. If you've got a team of deaf people, you can communicate with each other and support each other. But if you're a lone athlete, like a cyclist, then it's harder.
Of course. So it is difficult, I think, through the UK to try and get involved in cycling clubs. And of course, there are different, various clubs that are out there that you can do, whether that's downhill, mountain biking and so on. I mean, I think in France, you have the Alps, you have different routes, different landscapes.
It terrifies me. It terrifies me even to watch them, Avril, all those crashes they have and the collisions and, oh, my days. No, it looks awful, all those injuries.
Yeah, so interesting to watch the tour, though. It's lovely. Okay, let's look at some other photos. So tell us a little about these. Now, on the left, we see gold, silver and bronze medalists there. Can you explain that photo?
So, do you remember we saw before Marjorie? That's her again. So this is Marjorie and Corinne. Everyone called her Peddy. And then you can see Marjorie with her husband winning medals for tennis. Marjorie Durlacher and her husband John there.
So it was a husband and wife that won the silver. Yeah,
yep, that's right. You can see them standing on the podium there. Yeah, in second place.
Lovely.
Yeah.
And the other lady, I think, that was standing in the first photo you showed with the tennis, Lenore, was it? She's actually
Lenora Dawson. Yeah, Lenora Dawson. Yeah.
And they're both with their husbands. How lovely.
So that's Anthony and Catherine Graham, who are again a married couple, both playing tennis in the mixed doubles.
Oh, lovely.
And they got a gold medal in Taipei in 2009. And we hadn't won a gold medal in tennis since that earlier photo that you saw. And then they win it again in Taipei.
Yeah, many years have gone past. So tennis has still been a really important sport, though, in Deaf Olympics, yeah?
Yeah, well, men's tennis was 1924, women's tennis 19 28.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, 28.
so, yeah, 1937 was the only year that we missed. Yeah.
Wow. I think tennis is such a popular sport, though. It's lovely to see it's still involved. Okay. So you have singles, doubles, mixed doubles, yeah?
Yeah, we've won all colour medals in that sport. There's a lot of tennis clubs. There's one in London. So there's a lot of people who are training regularly, playing regularly, and we get some great teams emerging from there.
That's great. Thank you for that. Okay, let's look at some more photos. Now, can you explain these two photos?
Yeah, this lady is Lelaine Clark. And she was in the Deaf Olympics, well, World Games for the Deaf in 1981. And that was in Köln.
In Cologne, yeah.
Köln in Germany, 1981. And she was the first Black member of Team GB in its history. Now, I have to say there was another lady as well at the same time called Jackie Dennis. We don't have a photo of Jackie, but the two of them were the first two Black contestants. And that was amazing, actually, for me when I was doing my research. And I actually did an interview with her, and she told me about her experiences of being in the GB team. And it was fantastic to talk to her. She was an amazing woman. And yeah, the first Black woman in the team, first Black person in the team. She was an athlete, 100 meters, 200 meters, and long jump. She never got a medal, but she was in the team. So fabulous.
But yeah, lovely to know that she was there. That's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, 81. She also competed with hearing athletics, and she had a coach, a hearing coach, and I think she really enjoyed the experience of being in Team GB for Deaf Olympics.
Absolutely, I'm sure, yeah. So let's have a quick look at the newspaper that talked about Lelaine. Lovely. So she made it into the newspaper.
And you can see that she was a member of Gloucester Athletics Club, which was a hearing association. So she competed in the hearing leagues as well.
Yeah, how interesting that she was able to straddle those two landscapes, really.
Yeah, I did that as well. It does help, really, because it depends on your sport and it depends on the resources. But, you know, a lot of hearing clubs have all the resources. They have all the equipment for shot put and, you know, so it does depend on your club, but you might need to go to a hearing club to get access to those things.
Of course. So if you really want to strive to be in the Deaf Olympics, that's something that you think you need to do. Because there are resources there, because in specifically deaf sports clubs, that might not be as possible with regards to the budget
Exactly.
and things, I suppose. Okay,
Yeah,
and
just
that
to get
way
the
you
standard.
can work
Yeah.
yourself. Yeah, lovely. Okay. So you mentioned the first Black woman in terms of the first Black man?
Yeah, the women were in Cologne in 1981, but in 1985, two Black men were also involved in the team. And then, of course, there have been, since then, Asian people and other people of colour
Of
and so on.
course. That's fantastic. Yeah, we've seen numbers grow. Lovely. Okay, let's look at the next photo. Okay, lovely contrast there. So on the left.
Okay, so don't look at the team photo yet. The two men on the other side, they were in the Winter Games.
Okay.
And the Winter Olympics Games for the Deaf, International Games for the Deaf, was set up somewhere around 1948.
48.
So other
Okay.
countries were involved in that 48 games, but not GB. It's not until 1983 that GB gets involved, and those two gentlemen are our first skiers. That's Andrew and Graham. And they were involved in 4 or 5 different events, I think slalom, ski jump, so on. So So that was 1983. And, you know,
Wow.
since then, they've won lots of gold. The women's team that you can see there, that's a futsal team.
So going back to the two men, I mean, that was over 35 years, you know, after the establishment of the Winter Games, and they went in 1983, and that
That's
that was
right.
GB just getting involved. Was that, did you say in Italy?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Italy, that's right. Yeah.
So yeah, such 35 years or so before we got involved. And then you
That's
mentioned
right.
futsal.
Yeah, so the women's team is futsal. They should have been in 2023, but because of COVID, it was
Of course.
2024, and that was in Turkey. And that's the first female GB team in a kind of footballing event. So the men had been involved in, you know, for a long time. The women had been involved in other events, but that's the first women's futsal team in 2024. They didn't get a medal, but they did very well. They came fourth, I believe, fourth. So well done
Oh,
to them. They did great.
yeah, absolutely. Well done to them. So before we'd always seen male involved. Now we've got the women getting involved. How lovely. And
That's
in
right.
different sports, including futsal and different football. Yeah.
Yeah, you can see the changes over the years. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, lovely to see that. Okay, let's look at the next photo. And I think this is a really important photo. Can you explain to our audience about these two that were shown?
Yeah, so you can see David Robinson there, and he won a silver medal for 400 meters hurdle.
Hurdles, okay.
Yes, hurdles. 400 meters, so it's quite a long way around, and that's 1985. And
And
that was
where
in
was that
LA,
about, Sandra? Oh,
in LA
okay,
in America.
okay.
And he won a medal, silver, and you know, we were really proud of that.
Okay, so David was involved in the hurdles. And
Yeah,
it
and
was
rare to
400
get a
meters.
medal. Yeah, it's quite a high level of competition there with hurdles. And
Absolutely,
yeah, they're high.
yeah.
To get over there, you've got to really jump.
Yeah, it's certainly a tough sport. And then the other photo talks about there's doubles there for second and third, gold, silver, bronze. Can you
Yeah,
explain
this
that one?
is sorry, I was going to say tennis, but actually it's badminton. And Team GB got 1, 2, 3 gold, silver, and bronze for second and third in
The,
badminton. So
all GB?
all the medals went to GB. First, second, and third.
Wow,
Gold, bronze,
amazing.
and silver. Yeah. And that was in 1985. And that,
And again in Los Angeles, in America?
yeah, yes, same games. And actually, at that event, that was the event where badminton was introduced as a new sport, and we won the
Wow.
whole lot. Yeah, just took the whole of the
And
lead
we
of the
took them
board.
all.
Yeah,
We took them all.
1, 2, and
Wow, and
3.
that's when that sport started. How amazing. What a strong team that must have been back then.
And we didn't do that again, 1, 2, and 3, until Christchurch in New Zealand in 1989, and we got 1, 2, 3, and 4 in that event. 1, 2,
Wow.
3, and 4 in that games.
I think badminton is another strong sport for the GB team for sure. Yeah, and I believe there was somebody from
Absolutely.
Scotland involved in that team as well. Yeah, but it certainly seems to be a strong sport, a strong discipline for the GB team.
And it's pretty fast, you know, you watch that shuttlecock going around, it moves quickly. It's a
Yeah,
fast sport.
I think it's rare to have a first, second, and third, I suppose,
Oh,
any
absolutely.
games, for
Yeah,
any country.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, when I came across that in the research, I was like, wow, wow, wow. First, second, and third.
Lovely,
Yeah, it was absolutely amazing. Another goosebump moment.
I'm sure. So I think it's nice to have that record, isn't it? That's lovely to have.
And especially when it was a new event, the first
Of
time that
course.
event's introduced. And, you know, yeah, we were ready and waiting, got all the gold, all the medals.
Of course. Okay, so we've spoken about other sports, football, futsal, cycling, athletics, badminton. Let's have a look at some other sports. What sport is this, Sandra?
So this is bronze, and this is for men's doubles, table tennis. And it's pretty rare for GB to get a medal in table tennis. We get lots in badminton and other sports, tennis, but table tennis, not so much. So bronze, I think, might be the first medal we've got since, I don't know, 1965 or something.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a really lovely one. Nick and Ben getting the medal there in table tennis, which is fantastic.
Yeah, it's so nice to see the GB team actually, winning these medals. It's so lovely.
Yeah, and a rare one
And
to
it's a
get,
small
table
team.
tennis.
Yeah, of course, in that sport, absolutely. Okay, I think we have some other photos. Oh, lovely group shots there. Where are these from?
So these are the Deaf Olympics in Melbourne 2025. So that's Australia. And there's two teams you can see there. There's the men's team who won the gold for football.
Lovely.
And the women's team who got the bronze.
Oh, gold and a bronze. Fantastic.
And that was, yeah, absolutely. And that was a new event for the women. So that's 2025. They hadn't entered into the football, and that's their first entry into the football, and they get a bronze. And the men have won lots of medals before, silver, bronze, but they've wanted the gold for a long time. And the Melbourne Games is the one where they get it. So both teams were really proud of themselves.
Lovely.
It's great.
Lovely. So the men through the years had won the bronze. They moved that up to the silver, and then they got the gold. So they climbed that ladder until 2005, and they got that gold medal. That's so lovely. I think during that time, the golden era, I suppose we talk about it, and for the women to come along for the first time and come home with a bronze medal as well, that must have been lovely to see. Absolutely. What a lovely memory to have, I'm sure.
I think there was a big party, quite a lot of celebrations. There was loads of support for them, lots of screaming and cheering, and obviously it was great to see the women there as well. And also, well, I can't say I was disappointed, but I was, I was a bit sad because, I'd played football from the age of 12. We've been playing and, dreaming to get into a Team GB team. And I just wished I was young again. I could roll back time and jump into that team, because I'd retired in 2000.
I see.
But all fair play to them. They were absolutely fantastic, and it really showed that men and women can both equally play football really well. Yeah,
absolutely, that's lovely. But to see that win must have been amazing, really. How lovely, fantastic memories from everyone involved, I'm sure.
Oh, the best. Yeah. I mean, we were screaming, I thought we would pop the football or something with the vibrations, it was amazing.
Yeah. Happy days. Yeah. Lovely to bring those medals back for sure. Okay. Let's look at the next photos. Who is this gentleman?
So this is Chris Ratcliffe.
Of course, yeah.
And he was the team manager at one point, but then he changed to chef de mission, they call it. Chef de mission, that's his title. And he was the first chef de mission. And that was in Melbourne 2025. So he ran the whole GB team. I was working as a child protection officer under Chris, so I was responsible for all of the juniors, the under 18s. If they were upset or needed to talk, I was the person they came to. I kind of encouraged them, advised them about what they're eating, that sort of thing. It was really great. But it was a really big team in Melbourne, really big
I'm
team that
sure.
time.
Yeah, and of course, Chris now himself is the CEO for Deaf Sports UK. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
So from then till now, while he's obviously his interest in sport has been maintained for sure. And then it's looking at, I know everyone going to the Deaf Olympics and how that's funded. So it must be particularly difficult for him to look at that. Now let's see this next photo. What sport is this?
This is amazing. This is golf. It's golf.
Wow.
This is 2017 in Samsun, and that's in Turkey.
Turkey, of course.
2017. And at the 2017 Games, golf was a new event. So golf is introduced and we win a medal. Well, we win 2, silver and bronze, both for golf.
Yes, yes, the GB team. Fantastic.
And you can see the coach there as well, which is great.
Yeah, so as you said, it's a new sport, and the fact that the GB team get involved in golf and win medals, how lovely. Bronze and silver. So great.
Yeah, all that hard work, you've got to focus.
Yeah.
There's a new event coming in. We get, we train up, we go for it and we win.
Absolutely. So that was a photo of men. Are there any women involved?
I don't know actually. I'm sure there are people who are building up to that. It would be nice to have women involved, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it might be growing. I think the interest is certainly out there for women in golf. So yeah, that would be nice to see.
Well, let's encourage that. It would be great to have both men and women winning equally in that sport, wouldn't it?
Lovely, thank you. Okay, next photo. So, let us know who
This
this
is a
is.
lovely lady. This is a lovely lady. She's called Danielle Joyce.
So, to double check, Danielle? Yeah.
Danielle Joyce. She's a very tall lady. She's a swimmer and she's won so many medals in so many different events. I think she was first in the team in Sofia in Bulgaria, 2017, and she just won so many medals. She takes part in 5, 6, 7 different swimming events
Wow.
at every meet. And if you can imagine, to get a medal, she's going to get 5 medals at the end of the day. And let's say, for example, she's doing the 100 backstroke. She's got to do heat 1, heat 2, then, quarterfinal, semi-final, then final and get the medal. And then in the next, next event, she's got to do the heats and and she's got to go through all of that. Can you imagine how physically draining that must be? Yeah, she must be as fit as anything. And I know everyone trains, football, badminton, everyone trains, but swimming, I think, the dedication to go through all of those heats and semi-finals, quarterfinals, everything to get through. And she's broken a few world records this last season.
She must have so much focus to go through a series of swims in that way, different heats, different distances as well. Wow, different strokes, backstroke, whether it's front crawl. Wow.
You swing 5 or 6 times for each event. Yeah, absolutely.
And is she Scottish? Is that correct? I think you'd mentioned she was perhaps Scottish. Anyway.
Yeah. And her achievements are amazing. That's right. Yeah.
They are. Thank you so much for those photos. They've been so lovely, and I think it really shows that the GB team have so much commitment. Their ambition is so immense, and to come back from the games with the various medals that they've had through the years, it's so lovely to bring those home. to be able to display in deaf clubs and in their communities. How lovely.
Totally. And if you look back to 1924 to, 2025, Japan, Tokyo, I mean, we haven't got medals there yet, but so far we've won 284 medals. I'll just say that again,
284.
284 medals of all colours. Team GB has won
Wow.
284 medals so far.
Yeah.
Across all sports, badminton,
Yeah.
tennis, whatever, 284 medals.
That is amazing. So they're somewhere in the UK, these medals, somewhere.
And that was up to last year when we had our centenary celebration. So yeah, just kind of doing the research, calculating the numbers, looking at how far we got in 100 years, and who knows, 2025 Tokyo, bring it on. Let's see what we can do to that total.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, hopefully we'll go to Tokyo and bring more medals back to add to that total. Okay. So I know that there's been a lot of people involved in deaf sports in the UK, but we know that funding is problematic. Trying to source funding to be able to just attend the games, it's particularly difficult to go along to the Deaf Olympics. Whereas other countries that focus on sport and that invest in sports in the country are more able to send their athletes there.
Yeah, and it's a pain. I think it affects the athletes and the competitors. It's really stressful, and I think that's not easy.
It must do. I mean, what is your experience, Sandra, yourself? I mean, what have you been able to witness when people are trying to pull together funding for clothing, for travel, and so on?
Well, we get sponsorship, but it tends to depend on the number of competitors we've got, who will help and who will sponsor and who will not. So there's a job of work to attract that sponsorship. Some people are interested in running, will sponsor that, but they won't sponsor something else. So, you get people selling things to try and raise money, raffles, all kinds of things. It's really hard because what you should be focusing on, of course, is your training. You should be focusing on that. But at the same time, if you're trying to think about raising money, that's going to affect the level of your performance. It would be great if these two things could be separate and we had enough money, enough funding to support the whole team. That would be fantastic. Rather than trying to get each individual to get sponsorship and pool those resources. And, it's really difficult for the individuals themselves.
And of course, we know that other countries are able to, athletes are able to stop their work, their employment for a few months to focus on their training, to work with their coach.
They train full time.
Yeah, absolutely. And they are funded. So, wow, what a difference that would make.
Yeah, and it makes a difference in terms of injury because, if you've got to go to work and then you've got to go training and then you're missing a training because you've got work, whereas if you are able to train full time, you can make sure that you rest, that you relax, that your body has recovery time between training sessions. You're not running around trying to do all of these different things in life at the same time.
I mean, do you think if we had parity with the other countries that we would win more medals?
Yeah. I mean, if we had the funding, I reckon we could. If our athletes could train full time, I think we'd definitely get more medals. That'd be fantastic. If we were able to train full time and have all of that equipment and all of those things, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, I think when we talk about deaf sports, I think it can be the core, the heart of the deaf community, really. Sports brings us all together. And I think if that disappears, then that community spirit, I fear, would start to disappear as well. Regardless of your age, male, female, I think we need to try and encourage that involvement in sport. But to have money, to have the resource, the budgets, the funding to be able to carry on, particularly for Japan, for Tokyo, as we are moving forward to that this year, it would be lovely to see. And I don't know if you know about the future Croatia we have, and we have Greece as well in future. So both of those come after this year after Japan. So it would be lovely to encourage people to get involved in sport and to continue that GB team for the next several years.
And to grow the GB team for 4 years'
Yeah,
time. You know, it's been
absolutely.
the funding has been so intermittent, you know, since kind of 2005. We're really dependent on little bits here and little bits there. And so we can only really maintain a small team. I know that we've got football teams, but the number of sports that we can enter is really limited, you know. So I think that would make a big difference if we could go forward in the next 4 years, having more
Yeah.
funding. We could grow that team, we could grow the sports, we could grow role models.
I think it'd be lovely for someone's own development, actually, and experience to go over and to take part in the games. It'd be so fabulous.
Totally. And, you know, you see supporters coming over from, you know, Denmark and all of these other countries, and they get, you know, huge crowds of supporters. Really, it's a really
Fans.
grassroots kind of event. You know, there's loads of deaf people there. It's fantastic. It's a lovely experience. And, you know,
Yeah,
those are young people looking at sports role models, thinking about their own futures. And that surely has to grow the future of the team, doesn't it?
absolutely. It's a lovely signing environment. And I think you mentioned that keyword role model. It's so important when young people need to look up to someone to see what has been achieved through people's participation in the Deaf Olympics and who've gone on to win medals, or to have fabulous experiences and to be part of a team. You know,
Yes. And
that
that
is just a
mutual
fantastic
support.
experience. Yeah, absolutely. So nice. Whether that's athletics, which we know is important. We know it's still important in grassroots for schools, for example. Do you feel that is ever important? Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, you know, it all goes back to schools, doesn't it? Primary
yeah,
school and secondary school.
absolutely.
And further education as well. Anywhere where young people are, you know, as soon as you leave those establishments, it's really difficult to kind of continue your sport. So we need to look at leadership, we need to look at development, we need to look at workshops, we need to kind of make sure that young people bring in hearing coaches. It doesn't really matter as long as we can keep those athletes, you know, those sports people going. Um, and I think we need that on a regional basis as well, because um, you know, the number of deaf clubs that's left are not enough to really support that framework. So you get areas where there's a big deaf club and you get strong teams, and you get areas where there's nothing. So it would be nice to kind of plug some of those gaps
Mm,
geographically and make us strong right across the UK. Um, so that, you know, if we had that regional network, if we had regional clubs, if we had competitions, we could really build it up from there.
and can I ask you, Sandra, do you feel that sport reduces that isolation, that loneliness and well-being? Can that improve well-being?
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. And it's about
Mhm.
communication as well, isn't it? And, you know, sharing of information and advice and just meeting others and, you know, exchanging and bonding with other
Gosh,
people. And that's really crucial. That's really
yeah,
a really important part of sport. And from my experience, you know, going over to Europe and seeing, you know, seeing in other athletic clubs and competitions, you know, and taking, you know, young people over there and, you know, and them saying, "Oh, I made 10 friends, you know, and I learnt
yeah,
this, and, you know, it was really great." So children going along to these kind of things, children involved in athletics and sports is really important for their language development, for their social development. You know, it's really important. They make friends internationally. It's fantastic. So the more children we can get over there, the better. If we can really develop that, it'd be great.
yeah. I think you're right. We need, you know, to attract and bring in young deaf people into sports, and if they go to a Deaf Olympics to gain that valuable experience and meet people would be lovely.
New
So it's
skills. Yeah,
about
absolutely.
encouraging. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, new skills, encouraging people to get involved and to bring in new blood, new people into these sports.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah.
I know it's a big commitment for sure to get involved in sports. You need to give your all to it to excel. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I used to train
Oh,
6 days a week,
wow.
athletics and football. So 6 days a week between the 2 of them, and I would go all over the place. I look back and think, "Wow, how did
Wow.
I do that?"
That, that is a
But
commitment,
I
but
met
I'm sure
so
you've
many
met so
friends.
many fabulous people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure. Okay, lovely. Now, when we think about the future, what do you feel about deaf sports as we move forward into the future? Do you have any anxieties? Do you think about how we could find any solutions with funding, for example?
I think we have to encourage people to get along, to come along, enjoy, get involved, um, set up
Yeah,
more clubs where they can do that, get them interested because they will find it exciting. They will find it, compelling. And then once you've done that,
yeah.
you're over the line almost.
So you start off in a fun way, but your commitment
Yeah,
builds traction, and then you become serious about that sport.
You yeah, you start general. You try your hand at all kinds of things. You try something, don't like
Yeah,
that, try something else, that's better for you, try something else. You see adults doing it, you look at old people doing it, because we
yeah,
don't want people to be lonely, we don't want people to be unfit. Um, so, there's lots of things now that are really popular. So you can
absolutely.
do lots of sports and get involved in lots of different
Yeah, so
ways.
there's a yeah, so we talk about a real spectrum of age groups there that can be involved in the sport. So I suppose we have to say to you, thank you so much for your involvement tonight, just to talk to us about, the deaf history in sports and Deaf Olympics. It's been so lovely, and I hope it gives a lot of people food for thought about perhaps whether that's supporting via funding or getting involved in some other way. And I know that next year we're going to have the Deaf Spy next year. We'll look at
That's
the
right.
sports year. Um, and next year, is it 2026? Is it in the Midlands? And it's Saturday, the 28th of November,
That's right.
2026 next year. So I hope, though, this year we'll see a lot of medals in Japan and Tokyo, and that the GB team can bring some medals back, and we can have a lovely look next year at that meeting. Not even the medals from Japan. Let's talk about sport, what's happening in Britain. So that'll be lovely to discuss that next year in the Midlands.
Yeah, and all of those sports coming together would be really great. Yeah, yeah. Not only the sports that are
Absolutely.
represented in Japan, but other sports as well.
Exactly. Yeah, thank you for
And
clarifying that. Yeah,
overseas sports as well. Yeah. Overseas sports people are invited to.
lovely. So I think we've covered quite a lot this evening. And I probably am right in saying that you've had a very positive experience of your involvement. Um, and has that helped your own identity?
Oh, yeah, because I've met people from all over the world. We've communicated in all kinds of different languages. I've learned about their cultures. I mean, it's been so educational. It's a real
Wow.
exchange. We've become pen pals. We've kept in touch. It's been just amazing. It's opened the world to me. I mean, I've met and learned from so many people.
That's lovely, actually. So we've been going for about an hour, Sandra, and I wanted to say again, thank you so much. I wonder if you have any last thoughts that you want to share with the audience.
Yeah, I'd just like to say good luck for all of our deaf competitors, Team GB going to Tokyo and Japan. Bring back medals, any color. Yeah, good luck, everyone.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, good luck to everyone that's going along, who's involved. And please don't forget to try and look. Hopefully, we'll have access, whether that's TV online.
We should be able to
And
watch it. Yeah.
perhaps we can share some information just prior to the game starting. I don't think there was a lot of publicity the last time. So hopefully we can get
No.
that and make sure people can watch, whether that's live stream. So it'll be lovely just to communicate that. So hopefully there'll be plenty of information at the Tokyo Games that can be shared with us.
Yeah, it would be nice if people could share the information and, you know, communicate with the team, say, congratulations, you're amazing. That was
Yeah.
fantastic. You know, if we could share that on social media, that would just be brilliant. Yeah.
And then hopefully once they come back, they can share their experience with local deaf clubs. That would be lovely as well.
That's a must. Yeah, that's a must. And then, you know, 4 years hence, you
Yeah,
know, we'll be planning for that and thinking about, well, maybe you could get involved and be ready for 4 years' time
absolutely.
and yeah, be in the team. It's important.
Absolutely. Let's prepare for that. Okay. Thank you so much for sharing that tonight. I so appreciate it. I hope the audience enjoyed this BSL Blether. We've been able to share such rich information. Thank you so much, all. Take care.
Thank you.